Hey, how's y'all doing, everybody? Again, this is your host. Welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I'm your host, Mr. Mrblowsurmind, and this is Black Minds News Report, also as We Up Report. Want to thank each and every one of you who come over here, especially my day ones, my subscribers, those who constantly keep coming over even though I have not been consistent, working hard, and then one day I will tell you the story why I have to do it the way that I'm doing it. Unforeseen occurrences befall us all. You know how I always say, but I thank you for clicking on the video, subscribe and share, comment, do all that good stuff. Passerbys, welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. You can go down the aisle, happen to see some things the way that my format is normally ran. One of the originals, the blueprint to most of the shows in the black corner, how they advance and do their shows. This is the originator. So when you know the copycat from the original, when I get it going again. But then again, that's not to be facetious or anything. That's just, staking my claim. So anyway, seen some things in the news that I thought that was of interest, that I thought that it would be good to bring to the show today. As you see the thumbnail, and the thumbnail is talking about the perspective, right? The perspective. The American perspective of distress. Now, you know what they say, an upside down flag means distress. Lives in danger, property in danger. I didn't actually put the flag upside down, but that flag is not right up. So as you see the three individuals you see on that thumbnail there, each one of them has a unique story that I'm about to talk about that has been put in the news. And for your listening and participation, I shall get into it. So first thing I did see is this story here, for those who probably did not hear about it, that there was a 76-year-old black woman who was released from prison amid pandemic, sent back for a missing phone call while taking a class. Let me say that again. A 76-year-old black woman released from prison amid pandemic, sent back for missing phone call while taking a class, right? So, there's some outrage out here. You're talking about a 76-year-old woman who was, as I go into this story here, tell you those who don't know the story, but imagining somebody at that stage of life who is still considered to be an inmate. I mean, that's really a life sentence to be in prison at that stage of your life. And now they're talking about sending you back to prison. Obviously, something had happened that got her to be out of the prison. So let me go ahead and tell a little bit about this. Her name is Gwen Levi. She's 76, as stated, and was one of those 4,500 federal inmates who were released from prison and sent to home confinement as a precautionary health measure during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the mother and grandmother is back behind bars because for a few hours of one day, she was taking a class that caused her to miss phone calls from her supervisor. It's a story with all the hallmarks of a classic tale of a person with a checkered past, trying to do better, and a heartless system designed to see them fail. Washington Post reports that Levi, who had already served 16 years in prison out of a 24-year sentence for conspiring to sell at least a kilogram of heroin, had moved in with her 94-year-old mother in Baltimore, Maryland, after she was released last year. By all accounts, she was doing her best to be a productive and law-abiding member of society. She volunteered at Prisoners Advocacy Organization. She was rebuilding her relationship with her children and grandchildren, and she took a computer word processing class in Baltimore Inner Harbor in hopes that it would help her find a good paying job. Of course, it was that last move that led her being reincarcerated on June 12th after being out of prison for a year. According to an incident report from the Federal Bureau of Prison, Levi's supervisor was unable to contact her for a few hours that she was in class. Levi's public defender, Sapna Mercandandi, say that fast, Mercandandi, said that there was no question she was in class. But as far as the Bureau was concerned, that wasn't the case because the incident report listed her failure to answer phone calls while trying to secure some kind of future for herself as an escape. Mercandandi told the Post that she was told this was the case because her client could have been robbing a bank. They're going to treat her as if she was robbing a bank. But Levi wasn't robbing a bank. She was taking a class. I feel like I was attempting to do all the right things, Levi said in a statement released by Mercandandi. Breaking rules is not who I am. I tried to explain what happened. And to tell the truth, at no time did I think I wasn't supposed to go to that class. I apologize to my mother and my family for what this is doing to them. Levi isn't the only person to be sent back to prison after being released amid the pandemic. According to the Post, former President Donald Trump, who often touted himself as some great prison reformer, was celebrated by some for freeing federal inmates to protect them from the COVID-19 infection. However, in his final days in office, a Justice Department memo was issued calling for nearly all of the released inmates to return back to prison after the health crisis ended. This is the part where I reminded you that Trump had no problems pardoning federal inmates who were allies of his, soldiers who killed unarmed civilians, and a Maryland cop who got off on sickening her police dog on a homeless people, while people like Levi had to go back into lockup. So now one can only wonder if officials are looking for any and every excuse to put released inmates back in prison as a way of adhering to the Justice Department memo, right? So let's kind of just look at this, right? This the whole story. There's more to the story, but the crux of the story is there. So you have Gwen Levi, who's 76 years old. For some people, this could be grandmother, could be great-grandmother, could be mother and daughter. As you heard in the story, she is a daughter, or maybe I didn't get to that part. But let's go into it anyway. So here's a person who already did a 16 piece, already did a bid of 16 years. 16 of 24 years means she had 8 more years left on her bid. According to this story has stated, she sold almost a kilogram of heroin. So if she did 16 years already prior to where we are now in 2001, she already been out for a year. Right? I'm not sure if they count the 16 years part of this year, but let's just say if that be the case. So that means she was about 60 years old when they originally incarcerated her. Now, a kilogram of heroin, this is not to condone when, we do acts that, especially when we see the carnage that come from selling that kind of poison, right? Selling the poison into our communities and seeing the effects and the trauma and the lives that have been ruined. Again, many people say, well, you had the free will not to, let's say, partake of the poison. And that's true. But the circumstances of we as Black Americans in this country and what we have endured as historically has shown, and we see prevalent today, we must say that sometimes escapism is better than reality for some people who cannot cope. When you're going through so many things, again, a system, a country that is a capitalistic country, which means you have to have a certain amount of economics to have a stable and productive existence. And so with that being said, many people fall between the cracks. Also the fact that there has been a design to keep many of us in those cracks that many people will not admit to. But in this case here, she did the crime, she was doing the time. So if you do the crime, you do the time, and she wasn't crying about that. Now, according to as the pandemic that came, that was officially of March 13th of 2020, And they talked about releasing a lot of inmates, but due to the crowding of the prisons and having the proximity of people who could be affected could spread, throughout. And some people even question the fact that sending people home after being in those environments could have been, a ticking time bomb. That could have been some things that could have been set, but that's for another topic of another time. So anyway, in this case, Miss Levi was allowed to go home to home confinement, and she returned back to her 94-year-old mother. Her mother is still living as a 76-year-old person. Her mother is still living, which means the 16 years that she had lost, not being able to be amongst her mother. Also the fact that she is a mother and have grandchildren. So here was her having the opportunity to come and reinvent herself or reintroduce herself back into her family. And according in this article, it also talks about how the fact that she would try to be a model prisoner. She participated in advocacy organizations while in prison, trying to do the things to prepare herself to reentry into society. And so here's a situation that happens. Again, it's not to condone what she did prior to, but here's a person who, according to the way the system at least espouses to the public, that prison is supposed to be to, rehabilitate a criminal, to go in there, to be sat down, to think about what you did, to learn a trade, to get some skills, and come back out and be a productive citizen. Here's a woman that seems to have taken this opportunity by her being released, tried to do the best by, going into some kind of program for word processing, trying to prepare herself that maybe she would be released and, be productive. And by her being there, being able to help her 94-year-old mother and again reintroduce herself to her grandchildren and her family. So we see that, according to this story, it says that she was in class when her phone rang off. According to this article, it said that they had been trying to contact her for several hours. But what does a few hours mean? I said several, but they said few. One is one, and how many is few? Anything between after one, right? 2 and above, right? But when you don't specify how long, that could have been just say, well, we tried for an hour and a half. We could have tried an hour and 5 minutes. But if you leave a general term of few, that doesn't really specify how long you've been trying to get in contact. So let's just say that you tried to contact her, you didn't, but there's a video showing her in class doing a, where you sit at home and you're on, you're doing it from your laptop, right? And the phone rings. She can't answer the phone because she's in class, right? Now maybe some people say that knowing that you are on the home confinement, and if that phone rings, the first thing your priority should be is to pick up that phone. And the school, I can explain that better. And then, but if you're trying to be a model student as well, I can get back to this call. So it seems that after all that ordeal took place, she tried to explain herself. You heard in the article says, the person said, well, once you didn't answer the phone, we took it as that you were escaping. And then look at the analogy that he uses, or the person uses. They said that she could have been robbing a bank. Now, why did you have to take it to the extreme to sell what you're trying to sell? Why you had to say robbing a bank? Just the fact that you didn't answer, we didn't know. So there's a possibility you could just not be where we could find you. Why did it have to be robbing a bank after the fact that you already know what the whole the entirety of the story is? So to embellish that, it seemed like you want to again prod and poke at us as Black Americans. And again, we know that the president that we have right now, and going back into the crime bill and that whole thing, and as this article try to make a comparison between the Trump administration and the one that's in now, two wings on the same bird don't make no one wing better than the other, if you ask me. But that's just how some people are. So, the thing is, we done seen stories where people who try to put their people in better position. Remember the sister that had a child that was using the babysitter's address to enroll them in a school, and she was also doing some things again that would not be considered, productive, but that was her way of, providing. We don't condone it, but they used that situation and her selling drugs that they found out after the fact, and then the fact that they really was trying to say that you enrolled a child in a community that they say really we got it designed so to keep people like yourself from amongst us to get this education. Because we have to also ask ourselves, wait a minute, is there a difference as into curriculum in schools? So have y'all ever noticed that some people can live right next door, to a school, but the way that the district has been drawn up, you can't go to that school for some odd reason, so you have to go across town? Why is that? Why is it that every school don't teach the same curriculum, based on the type of teachers that they got? So there's certain people who are getting a different or better education while others are just getting the crumbs of education. And so that sister had got 5 years for just trying to do something that everybody says here that they want to try to provide for their children a good education. So in this sense here, we see a person who's trying to be a model citizen, done paid their debt to society. Yes, you still have 8 more years, but they were showing in their actions that they were trying to be a better person. They're much older. They were 60 when they went in. You would think, but again, at hard times, people would do what's necessary to survive. And the way that this stuff is designed, and many people are not going to admit to it, but that's what happens. And so many people are a little upset at this, and maybe with the outcry by us and bringing some attention to it, based on what happened, do it means to pardon her for the 8 years. That's up to them when you're talking about, we've seen people. Matter of fact, the example I would give to even try to make some comparison is, let's say, for instance, she sold heroin. She done 16 years on a 24-year bid. So we would say that you done did, what is that, 2/3 of that already, right? Wouldn't it be about, isn't that about 2/3? Let's see. Right, 16, 24, 3 is 8, and 8, right? So you did already 2/3 of that. Now, here's somebody who we've seen just recently that was reported, that it is showing here. But remember those people who went to the White House and stormed and sieged the White House, rioted in the White House? But we see that the first person who they did a process for was a woman about the same age. If not, either she was between 60 and 70 years old, and they gave her probation. Now, I'm not condoning what she did, but it seemed to be a different book when we're coming before this system than when other people who look just like the judge and look like the prosecutor. And I'm not saying that they all judges and prosecutors are white people, but we're just saying in the sense that there's a little bit more leniency, there's a little bit more humanity. Again, we're not trying to, take away what you've done. I think you already done paid 16 years. What about the people who are, mass producing, growing, cropping, flying, packaging? We don't never hear those stories of nobody getting caught. But the poster have always been the foot soldier. The easiest one to grab and put them in the face and say, hey, look, these are the ones who selling all the drugs, not the ones who flying, not the ones who putting it on the boat, not the one who was with the crops, none of that. It's just the foot soldier that get caught. So, again, it doesn't condone, but the fact is a 76-year-old woman being Gwen Levi on a simple technicality that seemed to be, well, are you using this to propaganda show that we can still do it? And the fact that they would say, well, we only released you based on the simple fact that it was only because of the pandemic. This was not a release. It was just due to the pandemic. And now that you done designated and said, or I ain't gonna say designate, but now that you done stated that the pandemic is now clear and safe for everybody to return, as the article was talking about, a lot of 4,500 that had been released are now being sent back. So instead of making this a big issue and using it about the school, I just say the fact that it was time we was bringing everybody back. You get what I'm saying? Why sit there and say because you called and then we caught you when we just say we were just bringing you back because we were bringing everybody back. But here was a person that you caught them in a situation that they was actually doing what you say a model citizen trying to enter back into society does. Well, we all have our own way of looking at stuff, but that's just how it goes, right? We know how it goes. So anyway, you comment on this, subscribe, share, like or dislike. And here's my next story as I'm going to go into this. Check this out here, right? So, go back there, right? So, okay. So that was that story there with Gwen Levi, right? Some of us, we got, parents who are that age. We got grandparents that age. Some could be great-grandparents, mamas and so forth, right? So we can sympathize with that. We understand that, yes, people can change. Again, circumstances breed criminality. It's because of position that people are in. And so some people have to do drastic things for drastic measures. We don't condone it. But somewhere there should be an understanding. To throw the book at somebody, I don't know the entirety of her case. I don't know if people died or not. But according to what they gave, that was a lot of time to be selling heroin. I guess they making you a drug dealer. But she is not backing and saying that what she did. She's never mentioned that. She just said, well, I was doing everything that I thought was supposed to be done as being a model prisoner. So, you tell me some of the things y'all think of that. So, why are we on the story of that anyway? Again, kind of like a country, again, the distress of people who have never got the fare, who never got what was written on the, let's say the marquee, right? What's written on the menu, right? We have certain people in this nation where a lot of people try to dispute it and try to say that it's kind of never the truth. It's just kind of your interpretation. It is your perspective. But I think we can actually show some proof and facts to that. So there was another story that I had seen, right? There was another story I seen. Well, hold on. Go back over there. All right. Okay. So there was this story here. I don't know if y'all heard of this Gwen Berry, right? She was on the Olympian trial. She was in the hammer toss, right? And let me go ahead because I think the article that I had prior to that, I think this is not the one. But we'll go ahead and go with it anyway. So it says, Gwen Berry, White House responded to criticisms after her protests at Olympic trials. Let me say that again. Gwen Berry, White House responded to criticism after her protests at Olympic trials. For those some of y'all who didn't hear about this, it was a sister. Her name is Gwen Berry. I think she's from St. Louis, Missouri. And she supposedly is protesting during the national anthem during the Olympic trials. And according, they said that she turned away from the flag and the podium and held a T-shirt over her head. And on that T-shirt, supposedly said that she is a activist athlete. I think it said, right? Activism athlete. And so a lot of people felt some kind of way, and they believe that, anytime that, Black Americans are put in a position and they want to remind the world, they want to take the platform and they want to protest and say that everything ain't sweet in the United States. Let me say that again. Some people don't like the fact that Black Americans in particular will use the platform before the world, because the United States is the seller of democracy to all the nations who are looking to be, again, in the family of civilization. And I'm going to do a video about this. I see a lot of people I see in some of these corners talking about a lot of things as into this mysterious that they don't understand why nations are in the conditions they are, and that people who hold or look at the continent and don't realize that there's a lot of potential. And you got to ask yourself, what is the real true deal? I have some information. stay tuned for them videos to come out, and I want to kind of show so that some people not so all dumbfounded about that. So anyway, so the platform being used at Olympic is one of the big, what is worldwide, all the nations who are participants, and you bring light to a situation. And again, the United States supposed to be the model of democracy that goes around and sells. Don't want to appear to other nations that to be a hypocrite. And so when you have people who don't follow under the whims of the guys that they want to portray, they said if you go on as Olympian, then what you do is you're representing the country. But we all know, not a lot of people going to try to act like they don't know. We know there's two sides to this country. We know there's the front and then there's the back, right? There's the front door of the country and then there's the back door of the country, right? The front yard and the backyard. Now, everybody wants to pretend that everybody can actually come through the front door. Now, those who are new that come here, that is their perspective until they understand and learn the rules and regulations of the game. It's like getting the license. Rules and roads, you got to read that book before you can get that license. And once you learn the rules of the road and then you get that license, now you're obligated to follow the rules according to what this game's, what to the driving's instructions and rules of the law or rules of the road pertain to. Now, you have a segment of people here, known as the Black Americans in here, was in here before they wrote them rules and regulations of the game, when there was no rules and regulations to the road, when you were not even part of, when they even constructed that book. We've been here that long and longer. So when you have people who come from a lineage of that, and then they have a reason to, again, it's not saying that they hate the country. Because, see, a lot of people like to equate to the fact that people want to bring light about situations that are not right. They want to make you seem to be like you a hater of the country. How could you be a hater of a country when this is your country and you built the country? But you don't get the benefits and saying everybody else gets the benefits. So it's just like saying that somebody is bitching and moaning, but the fact of the matter is they just want to bring light to attention just in case you didn't know, which everybody already knows. So this is what she did. Now, accordingly, Gwen Berry said that primarily the trials, they have a procession where they'll do the national anthem, but accordingly, she was surprised that they were doing it at the time that they were going to the podium. So she believed that they used this opportunity because she had an incident that she had did prior to, I think back in 2019, when she raised her fist. And when she raised her fist, back in, go back in 2019 and what was going on and on the wake and all this, and, so she was put her fist up and people didn't like that there. So they kind of felt like that this was them to get back at her, because obviously she said if she had the choice to know that if they were going to play the national anthem, she probably wouldn't have went out there. Now that probably been something else, right? So since she did go out there, she turned and put her shirt in activist and athlete, right? Activism and athlete. And again, you know how it is. There's two sides to here. People who want to just go with the marquee and say that it's all good and we all are equal, that this country afforded patriotism to everybody and equal rights. That's the people who just like the prose sound of that. But the reality of it is, if that be true, then how could the stuff that is let's say the stuff that's written in history, the stuff that many of y'all act like y'all ain't never read or have no knowledge of, we the people of that. So why is it that when we say something, y'all have a problem with it? Is it because you know that truth, and you know, even though you claim you don't read, but you know how, those conversations, y'all family and what y'all really espouse when, people are not around you and how y'all feel. So y'all don't have to know history. You just know your objective of how y'all looking at people and how it plays and dictates in certain things and how you can design and be in your area. And it's only seclusion of a certain amount of other people to get in there based on the way you got it designed. So it's not to say that y'all don't know. You just don't want the reflection of the mirror to be in your eyes, because it hurts when somebody put that mirror. Back in the days when you was a shorty and get a piece of mirror You take the sunlight and blind somebody. I remember back in the day, we used to do some stupid stuff. Right? We used to do that, get one, and then cars would drive by, and you try to blind the driver. You know the devastation we probably could have caused doing some stupid shit like that. But we was kids, we didn't know no better. But the fact of the truth of the matter is, once that sun get in that eyes, that's facts. That's true. You can't do nothing but either cover your eyes, right? Because it's just the facts. It's just the truth. And that's what it is like when we start revealing some of the, let's say, the family secrets of this country. People don't like that. And so that's what she had represented. And there were certain people, again, who were saying things that it was like, well, maybe she shouldn't even be on the team. Now, really, wait a minute. She earned that spot because she's on, throwing a hammer in the Olympics. She came in third. And she earned her spot to go to Tokyo. But it's as quick as because you have a protest where, according to this Constitution, it affords you to have peaceful protests, but you saying you're picking the wrong time because it does a stain on the image. Well, let me put it to you like this. Majority of the athletes that give this a good reputation when it comes to the Olympics, who is that? But these same people, remember what Muhammad Ali said. Muhammad Ali said, after going and representing the United States as a boxer, won the gold medal, came back to Kentucky, went into a restaurant, and they told him, what are you doing in here, nigger? And it offended him. He said, wait a minute, I just came back after going to the Olympics, winning a gold medal for the country, and when I came back, I couldn't even sit down and go into a restaurant to get something to eat. He said he took that gold medal and threw it in the river. Now, I don't know, again, if that's true, that Muhammad Ali's medal was somewhere in that water, somewhere in Kentucky. So I might as well do some scuba diving. You can go find that. You can validate that story. But that's what he said. Because why? He didn't feel like the country that he went out there and he represented didn't represent him. And that's what this sister here is saying. That, I'm representing this country, but I have some gripes, I have some grievances of things that has been historic in this country that seems to be mum is the word and let's keep acting like everything good. It might be beneficial for you that you get to go around the world and say, oh, we're from the United States. It's fine. We don't hate the country. How can we hate something that we had a very massive part in the inception and construction of it? So y'all can miss us with that one. You can keep selling that all you want. That's you trying to find some way to validate your position, but you never want to deal with the honest truth of the matter is why you have so many black people who sit here and say the things that they say. And so here is one of the, I went on Twitter here and I seen some of the, she was looking at the supporters, she was saying, right? She was saying that people were saying all kind of craziness to her. There was what's his name? It was see if I can find that. There was a news, something where the white dude was saying that he thinks she should be off the team. Like, get her off the team. If she doesn't want to represent like that, then she shouldn't make the team. She already done made the team. She put the work in. But see how disrespectful you can be by saying we just could not avoid what you done did and just because of what your stance was. Now let's address, well, why would you do what you do? Just hide that shit and get it in the back so then we don't have to talk about it. That's how y'all always deal with situations. You don't never want to deal with the situation because you already know it's guilty. You're guilty. So there's no need to talk about it because you don't want to deal with the guilt. We understand that. We know that's what y'all hold running around, dog chasing the tail. We get it, right? But why you want to paralyze somebody when you know what it is? Don't talk about it. Hey, the nerve. You know what I'm saying? The mitigated gall that many of them have. I had that in here, y'all, but I don't know what happened to them. Maybe I accidentally knocked that out. So anyway, can you believe that? Let's see. No, I won't go there. We'll go there next. Okay, so anyway. So it talks about how they went before the press secretary, that Jen Psaki, And the reporters had asked her, like they went and told on her. Really, they went to the press secretary. Did you tell Massa Biden that the little negress was out there and she would not turn? Did you tell Joe? You know what I'm saying? That's like what they said. They went and told Joe, right? And so accordingly, the White House press secretary Jen Psaki defended Olympic hammer thrower Gwen Berry. She said peaceful protests. See, that word to other people means no, it don't apply to you. You're disrespectful by not doing it. They hear the word peaceful protest, but it don't apply to you. If I don't ain't in agreement to it, then it's not to be right. See? But y'all really think that psychologically that y'all are some, straightforward ass people. But the truth of the matter is, your perspective, right? Like the title of the perspective, the way you're viewing it, it's not the same. You know it's not the same, but you're denying that it's not the same. And so she said, who turned away from the American flag as the national anthem was playing. Turning your back on the flag. Now let's look at this. Turning your back on the flag, right? Now, let's be honest. Is it disrespectful to turn your back on the flag? But what about the anthem that is being played as that flag is waving? They took out a stanza or two, right? They don't play the entirety of the national anthem. And what the national anthem was talking about the same people that she protesting about. How it said what it wanted to do if it caught us because of us, again, being on the side that's fighting for what you would say freeing, which we know all that was propaganda. But you understand? If you say the totality and to be honest about the entirety and when the person wrote it, is this national anthem being sung kind of like the song that you should be singing as we being black people? We understand that you went and, what they say today, when they say, not airbrush, but you know what I mean, when they go in there and cut and paste. You cut and paste the damn national anthem and you want to act as if like the way that you done reconstructed that it don't have that. But when the person sat down in the origins of writing that in the spirit, in the mind, and the heart, that when he wrote it saying, well, go and read the national anthem in its entirety for yourself if you think I'm bullshitting. See, that's the part they don't want. Well, it's not about what he said. It's what we're meaning now. No. In the inception and when it was, created, is the spirit is always going to be. Yes, you cut and paste and took certain things out so that it can flow and ebbs in the way that you want. But the origin of when the person wrote it, Francis Scott Key, if that's what you want to call it, he had no love for black Americans. But we got to sing it and we do it anyway because that's the way we've been programmed. But that don't make us disrespectful. But everything about some of the stuff that it is disrespectful. It's like telling the story of Betsy Ross made the flag. When they know damn well, Betsy Ross ain't made no damn flag. But that's you being honest and truthful. But, we ain't supposed to say nothing like that. We disrespectful because we won't tell the truth. That's what the whole thing about this so-called critical race theory, which is nonsense, right? Preventing the damn truth from being told in its entirety. We just want to, again, cut and paste to make it fit so that we don't feel any guilt about the shit we know we've been doing. But anyway, so again, this sister did what she did. And Corny said the national anthem, however, isn't played for every medal ceremony at the trials like it is at the games. The song is instead played just once each day, which took place during Berry's ceremony. So she believed that when they went ahead and they started playing, dun, 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 she like, wait a minute. Why would they do that now? They could have did that prior to me getting up here and prior to what we did. So based on the fact that they had already knew prior that she did in 2019, what she had gotten suspended. If I'm not mistaken, I think they suspended her where she got suspended for a whole year and she lost about $50,000 and she had to sit out and reprimanded her. So here it was, they gonna play the national anthem and put her in a you know what I'm saying, a situation, and she was put in a spot. So here it is, they playing the national anthem, she hearing it, knowing that the stand she done took, knowing that if she do it, that if she does it, she's going to be reprimanded. So she stood on her square. She stood on her square. And because she stood on her square, and obviously, I don't know what she said she didn't know, but she had that shirt with her. So she went out there and put that over her head, and it said what it said. And so now they want to figure out how can they take away and now allow her to go to Tokyo because they may believe she may pull something they don't like, right? So was she set up? Did they do it knowing that they were going to put her in that quagmire? And let's see what you're going to do now. Don't you want to go to Tokyo? Are you gonna kneel to Zark now? You see how I'm saying? The game modes is playing? But no, don't say that. Don't say that at all, right? Anyway, that's kind of what it is. And I'm not sure whether you can see. Let's see. Can I make that bigger? Right? You see her sitting on the podium. Can I make that bigger? Yeah, there you go. All right, so you see the sister there, right? And see how she is, you know what I'm saying? Got the flower down, got her hand on her hip. And see the other two right there, they're sitting in there looking to it. She not got her back to it. She turned to the side. Right? The flag is facing where they are. She ain't got her back turned. She got her side turned to it. Right? They don't want you to ever say what's wrong. Just take it for what it is. And you know, them back the kickstand, I'm saying, well, you could have been back in Africa. Don't give me that bullshit because if that be the case, and we all don't subscribe to that, you brought us here from Africa shit anyway. But that being said is, without us, how y'all coming here from Europe? Because you couldn't have built the motherfucker. You ain't built for that shit. We all know that shit. Anyway. So that's what that is here, right? So that's that sister. She did what she did. Right, and you know we're gonna have to just see how this is gonna develop as time go on, right? So y'all go ahead and give me y'all comments on that, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Again, EEOC over here. That's just what it is, right? So I got my third story here, and I'm doing this one particularly because I seen some people out here just I'm not understanding that if somebody make a statement about their ordeal and how they see things, and they know the person from a personal understanding, why is these other people who only deal with a person in a work capacity is trying to, you know, paint this person in the light of positivity when this person who probably has a more in-depth relationship with them is speaking from something? But let me show what I'm talking about, right? Let me show what I'm talking about, right? Some of y'all might know, what the hell are you talking about, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Okay. All right, right? Y'all seen this where Scottie Pippen says that Phil Jackson is a racist? He tried to expose Kobe Bryant. Now, that's not the only thing that he said, but that's what they're saying in this particular article here, right? They're saying that Scottie Pippen says Phil Jackson is a racist who tried to expose Kobe Bryant. And so Scottie Pippen, for many people, again, if you've been around when you got to see during the Bulls era, would be the right-hand man of Michael Jordan, the 1-2 punch, who technically, when you really look at it, without Scottie, I don't know if they could have gotten as far as they did, right? I don't know if they could have got as far as they did. And so Scottie Pippen, you know, really didn't get his due with his contract as well, too, before when they broke the team up. So he didn't get his money. And Scottie has been kind of marred in public eye due to the infidelity of his wife, passing of his son, being slighted as he feels towards The Last Dance. And so he's writing a book, and some people might think that the book may have something to do with it. But I just was like, okay, if Scottie Pippen says that Phil Jackson is racist, and being a white man that he is, why do so many people want to make it that they know Phil Jackson to be who, just because a man coached basketball, right? Go ask Latrell Sprewell about his coach that he had to choke out, huh? Remember when Latrell Sprewell had to choke out a motherfucker because some shit that had been said? And there's plenty other players who know that sometimes motherfuckers out there saying some shit that's like, hey, that's beyond this shit, right? You know what I'm saying? And so we understand that some people will just look at the fact that an individual who's been a coach, who's seen that everywhere he's been a winner, winning championship with Shaq and Kobe. Then he went over there with, he had Mike and Scottie, right? But, if you give me the best, right? Give me the best players in the league. I'm pretty sure I can come up with a concoction. I can come up with a scheme. I can come up with some designs, and we're going to win a damn championship. I'm telling you that. I'm saying that. I'll be able to do it. You understand? So, to know the real value of a coach is give me the team that's already what it is, and then let me show my value and my leadership through my X and O's and my execution of my team to get to that championship. You understand? That's what a coach is. But if I come to a team that's already got all the best, you got the two superstars in the league, you got the number one superstar ever in the game, and the two punch he got with him is the perfect tandem you need to do what y'all did to get the 6 rings. Then after that, after you run that course, you go over there and you get you get Kobe Bryant, and you get Shaquille O'Neal. You understand? The next 2 tandem after this duo, it would be the next 2 tandem. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not going to say that his philosophy and style may not have conducive that helped them. Okay, fine. And the respect that you got getting under Shaq and Kobe is because you had Mike and Scottie. And really primarily it's Michael Jordan, because that's who Kobe idolized and followed his game behind. So we'll give you some credit onto that. But that doesn't still mean that you can't be another person outside of basketball. And so to sit there and say that Scottie Pippen saying some things, and the people that I've seen that's trying to actually paint Scottie as wrong are black people. When he sat down with white folks were just saying, well, we kind of understand what you mean, but I know, it's some things that you really know that you can espouse. He just said a couple things. He said, one, he talked about how the situation, when you go back, for those infamous, where Scottie sat out when the ball went to Tony Kukoc. Well, they said the design was, according to the timeout, Scottie was supposed to inbound to Tony Kukoc. Now, Tony Kukoc is a rookie. Scottie Pippen is the heir apparent after Michael Jordan left. If you any kind of job you work when it comes to seniority, you don't let the new mug get let's say vacation, days off over you. If you choose not to want it, that's different. But you just gonna set them over me? Most people in seniority situations is gonna have a problem with that. Especially when we talk about sports and we talk about basketball. You have the man on every team. Every team got the man. And so if I've been the man that doesn't help us to win prior to Jordan leaving, the first 3 championships, he leaves, then guess what? I'm the man. Unless you don't went and found somebody who would be over me, but I don't know how that could be when I was the man next to the man. Now that the man is gone, I become the man. The new mug that y'all went and got over in Europe, which is going to be, as Scottie's saying, the racist part is what I'm going to say. I'm going to try to translate what Scottie is meaning by that. Scottie is saying that Tony Kukoc was going to be this opening up this European door. Yeah, think about this. Go back at this time. Tony Kukoc was supposed to be, they tried to call him the Jordan of the European, right? The left-hand cat to come in to call him the waiter, all this stuff, right? Now, I remember in the U.S., when the U.S. Olympic team played against them and Mike and Scottie went and ate his ass up. They put him to the test and he didn't pass. And say, man, you putting all this, y'all got went and recruit somebody ain't over here and talking about they're holding his bag for him. Is this dude all that? And when they got a chance to run up on him, they put him to the test. And he didn't fare well at all. So they was kind of like, he kind of iffy. Now he comes and he plays. Okay, y'all get that one in with him. And then now Mike's gone. So Scottie like, it's an air pan that it's my team. So when the game get in a certain crunch time situation, who's supposed to get the ball? Scottie. So what Scottie's saying is when you disrespected him is by one, you're going to have me inbound the ball to Tony Kukoc. You're going to have me inbound to him. And he's taking the game-winning shot when that's supposed to go to me. The team do or die with your main player. Matter of fact, didn't we just see that Brooklyn went down in the flames when Kevin Durant got the ball? You had James Harden. Matter of fact, James Harden had the ball in his hand, right? But he threw it back to who? KD. He had enough time. If you ask me, I think he should have went stronger to the cup and got a more closer shot, if not go all the way in. I'm from the old school. You go all the way to the basket, you're going to foul me. I'm KD. The ref know I'm KD. This was a game. I'm going in and you're going to have to either tackle me or I'm scoring. But that's just me. But anyway, so that's what happened. Kevin Durant got there, did the fadeaway three. They lose. They go down on their sword. Team can't be mad because this is the man. If we going to lose, he going to be the mother that take it. We live and die with it. So that's how Scottie's philosophy is. I'm the man. If the game on the line, it's me that's got to do it. You call Tony Kukoc. So he's saying, you being disrespectful to me. And he believes that you're doing this is because, again, you're opening the door for this, what's now all the European players who are coming here. And y'all already selling that this is the Jordan of European. So you're trying to introduce them as to this cat. So to do that to Scottie, he felt that was being disrespectful. The thing is, what makes it hard is the fact that he ended up hitting the shot. So it makes that Phil Jackson call was right, that Tony hit the shot. It makes Phil look like he was right. But the principle of it, Scottie's right. And so Scottie said it was racial in it. Now, many people, again, some of y'all brand new black, you just got black yesterday. You don't understand what it is. Y'all just learning. You start reading books and all that stuff. Look, been black from day one. Been black since day one. You understand? Learned in the game by the time I was in second grade. You understand? Went through a whole lot of ordeals from grade school. Turned on the whiteologist by the time I'm 7 years old. You understand? They taught me the game at 7. So I ain't gonna tell you what I heard. I'm gonna tell you what I know. So Scottie's saying what he said. Does that mean that it's not just because a man coaching black men and being successful and winning championship? Does that mean that he still can't be a racist? Matter of fact, go back to the Steviano and the cat that was at the Lakers, the Clippers. Remember that whole ordeal? I did the video on it. They made sure that video got snuffed out. He told you it's a culture. Those who own the team, it's a culture. You want me to go against my culture? What culture is he talking about? Right? There's a culture amongst up in there. Right? Go back and look at that. So to say that, people want to say that you're wrong, Scottie, for saying what he's saying, but he has more intimacy with him than any of y'all will ever have. Right? He done been in those, private sessions, maybe under the influence of alcohol and all kind of stuff. I remember the story they talked about when Mike Tyson came to Chicago. It was Richard Dent. I think it was Richard Dent, Mike Singletary, and Michael Jordan, and Mike Dicker was at a restaurant. I think it was at Jordan's restaurant when Mike came to town. And I guess they done had a little bit. They got to talking, and Mike Tyson turned to Jordan. I guess he was still feeling some kind of way because I guess he had been with Robin Givens. You know how that whole, about some woman. But he said about Mike Dicker. Now, we come to find out later, because those who from Chicago and looking at Mike Dicker and the 85 Bears, you know what I'm saying, that's Iron Mike That ain't Mike Tyson, but what they call him? Iron Mike Dicker, right? They call him Iron Mike Dicker too, right? Right? And so he was that coach, the coach, right? Couldn't see no wrong in him. But later on down the line, we heard Mike Dicker say some things that was like, oh shit, that's how you feel? That's really how you feel? Now, prior to that being coming out, everybody thought he was just, you know what I'm saying, he kind of, old school white dude, rough, tough, talking shit, you know, that kind of shit. But Mike Tyson came in Mike's restaurant and told him straight up, he will kick his ass. Motherfucker say that shit to me. So what was Mike Tyson talking about? Right? Now, Mike Tyson said that to Mike Dicker. Right? And it was a story that talked about that. You can go look it up. It's Jordan and Tyson. Go look that story up. You'll see it. But anyway, so Scottie Pippen saying the things that he's saying is because, again, having the intimacy, knowing something. So everybody's going to go on the persona that is done from TV that you see on the game. You're seeing after an interview. Oh, he talks about Zen. So how could a man who's talking about Zen and peace and winning championship could be racist? Why not? Why not can't be racist? And Scottie alluded to the fact they said, well, Kobe Bryant, why would a man who knows this, again, he wrote the things, I didn't myself haven't read the book, but these are the things that he said. He said, here's a man who's intimate that has inside knowledge, will go and reveal some things that he felt like he shouldn't. If I look at this article here, it talks about how the Hall of Fame, NBA Hall of Famer and Chicago Bulls legend Scottie Pippen isn't holding back anymore when it comes to his feelings about the past. He continuing to discuss his infamous decision to take himself out of the 1994 playoff game and open up more than ever before. In that game, head coach Phil Jackson drew up a game-winning shot for Tony Kukoc. In an interview with GQ last week, the same interview in which he criticized Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons, Pippen said that he felt insulted, disrespected by Jackson. But that's not all. He also said that he felt that Jackson denying him the final shot was a racial move. He goes on and says he don't think it's a mystery. You need to read between the fine lines. It was my first year playing without Michael Jordan. Why wouldn't I be taking that last shot? I've been through all the ups and downs, the battle with the I'll skip that way. Taking the last shot. I've been through all the ups and downs, the battles with the Pistons, and now you're gonna insult me and tell me to take it out? I thought it was a pretty low blow. I felt like it was an opportunity to give Kukoc a rise. It was a racial move to give him a rise. After all I've been through with this organization, now you're going to tell me to take the ball out and throw it into Tony Kukoc? You're insulting me. That's how I felt, right? So, again, as I was saying, that's what he felt. I think I got a little bit. We could play maybe. Can we play a little bit? Maybe play a little bit. It's coming off Twitter, so let's see if we can play a little bit.
The GQ article where you talked about the 1994 playoff game when you refused to go back in the game and Phil set up the play for Tony Kukoc.
Well, I mean, it's not much to be said if you go back and look at when Scottie Pippen entered the Bulls and when Tony Kukoc entered the Bulls and who deserved the last shot of the game.
No, I understand that, Scottie. I'm just going by what you said. You said you need to read between the fine lines, and then you go on to say it was a racial move to give him, Tony Kukoc, a rise.
So, I mean, if you knew that Scottie Pippen had been with the Bulls from 87, battled through the Pistons, and every other team that we had to get to those 3 championships, wouldn't you give Scottie Pippen one opportunity to get a last-second shot without Michael Jordan? Like, 1 year without Michael Jordan. Can I get one shot? Like, I'm doing all the dirty work.
But all of that I understand from the basketball standpoint. But when you say a racial move...
Well, why would Tony, who's a rookie, get the last-second shot and you put me out of bounds? That's what I mean, racial. Like, that was Scottie Pippen's team.
But
Scottie
Phil
Pippen was on pace to be an MVP that year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, why would you put him in a position not to be successful? Why wouldn't you put him in a position to succeed? Michael Jordan is not there, so who's next in line for you?
But have you talked to Phil about this? Because by saying a racial move, then you're calling Phil a racist.
I don't got a problem with that.
Do you think Phil was? or is?
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you remember Phil Jackson left the Lakers, wrote a book on Kobe Bryant, and then came back and coached him? I mean, who would do that? You name someone in professional sports that would do that, you know? I think he tried to expose Kobe in a way that he shouldn't have. You're the head coach, and you're the guy that sits in the locker room and tells the players, this is a circle, and everything stays within the circle, because that's what team is about. But you as the head coach, open it up. And now you go out and you try to belittle, at that time, probably one of the greatest players in the game.
Well, it feels like he's disloyal. I don't know if that makes him a racist.
Well, that's your way of putting it out, and I have my way. I was in the locker room with him. I was in practices with him. You're looking for him afar.
Yeah, and look, that's why I wanted to have you on. But I go back, and Phil designed a play for Steve Kerr when Mike was there. And Mike didn't have a problem with that, did he?
I don't understand. You're not setting me up to answer the right question. What do you mean Phil set up a play for Steve Kerr? He didn't set that play for Steve Kerr. He set that play for Michael Jordan.
I thought in the huddle, Mike says, I'm going to throw you the ball. You'll be open at the foul line. And Phil had nothing to do with that?
And you don't want to get this show started because it'll take us a long time. Do you know all those cameras that's sitting in that huddle, who they was working for?
The NBA.
So you know who Michael was speaking to when he said that, right? that was planned. That was speaking to the camera. That wasn't speaking out of what we're going to have to do, what the play is going to be. That was speaking to the camera. Had John Stockton not came down, trust me. But that was building his own documentary because he knew he was controlling the cameras. You understand English?
Yeah.
Okay. So all those cameras that was working were working basically for Michael Jordan, not for the Chicago Bulls. But they were building the Come Fly With Me, the Air Jordan videos. That's what it was. That was not naturally spoken.
Okay. All right.
That was rehearsed.
Okay.
Okay. So those are the words of Scottie Pippen from his own mouth, right? Right? You see how they want to allude the fact that Phil Jackson is not racist because Michael Jordan didn't feel that way. Now, those who have seen that clip where they show in the timeout where Michael Jordan turns to Steve Kerr and says, "You be ready," meaning your man is probably going to come down. As you heard Scottie say, if Stockton doesn't come down, he's not open. And then Michael was going to do what Michael was what Michael, we all know he does. And so Michael knew that there was a possibility of him being double teamed or triple teamed. Everybody in the world watching that series knew who was getting the ball. The problem is he was going to decoy. And that would mean somebody was open. Steve Kerr said, if it's there you get to me, I'll be ready. And guess what happened? It happened. But Scottie's saying originally the play, the design in the huddle is to give Michael Jordan the ball. For those who remember, Doug Collins used to say the thing, give Michael Jordan the ball and get the hell out the damn way, right? So it was no secret as to what would happen, but Scottie's saying what you saw was planned because Michael Jordan is also doing his documentaries at the same time. Now, let's say, for instance, if Michael Jordan don't kick the ball out to Steve Kerr and Jordan do what Jordan had been doing through his whole career, taking that shot, right? He takes the shot and say he hits and score. Guess what happens to that clip? You'll never see that clip. That clip won't even exist because why? One don't need to, because guess what? Jordan did what Jordan always was do, taking the last shot, living and dying with it, dying on your sword. The only reason, just like the Tony Kukoc situation, when Phil Jackson, who originally is designing that play to go to Tony, right? And the only reason why it makes Phil Jackson look like a genius is because it fruition and it end up being what it is. But let's say he misses. I know that's woulda, coulda, if was a fifth, we'd be drunk. I understand that. But we just gonna say that if it doesn't fruition, let's say again, if Michael Jordan don't kick out, maybe Stockton don't come down and bite, then it's one-on-one. And that's the situation he wants anyway. So Scottie saying all that was part of the documentary for the clips they needed. So now when they go back, it looks like that's what Dan Patrick is talking about. Well, then that's the clip they showing you. Scottie said this is all Michael Jordan's production. That would not have been if Michael don't kick it to him, because the script was for the play was not to do that, but he did it in was an improvisation, right? Up to getting it to him if he gets his man to bite and come there. You be ready. Right? So it that was not the play design, but that's the end up winning the game. So he's saying, but they're trying to make it seem like, well, Michael Jordan didn't have a problem with Phil Jackson designing a play for Steve Kerr. See how the white man tried to be slick and see, well, Michael Jordan didn't have a problem. Let me tell you something. Remember when I was just talking about the Clippers situation with that Stebiano and that LA Clippers owner? And what was it? Remember when I talked about that? And oh shit, what? Okay, what was it? That was the. Okay, Michael Jordan. Okay, all right. Remember when I talked about how he said it was a let's say those owners in them is some kind of, that's their culture. Remember he talked about that's the culture of the owners. Now that Michael Jordan is part of the culture of owners, when that Steviano and that LA Clip, I forgot his name at the time, but let's say what he had said, when all that was coming out to make him being a racist and then the culture of it, they was kind of leaning towards talking about Michael Jordan because the book was coming out and it talked about how Michael Jordan had said when he was younger, he hated white people. Let me say that again for those who slow in the back. You remember there was that time when they talk about the Steviano and the owner of the LA Clippers and how she put the tape out and he talked about the culture of the NBA and the people that you said he didn't want you being around black people and that you're supposed to be a little Latina, which is like a little white girl. And I don't like you being around all these black guys. Yeah, I give these black guys, a job and money and life, but that don't mean you're supposed to be around them, right? And so when he was going through that whole ordeal and it was this big, media attention about this racial element, they had to get rid of him because it was going to expose a lot of other stuff. And so Michael Jordan at this particular time was releasing a book. And in that book, it had talked about that when Michael Jordan was younger, he said he hated all white people. And he related to a story about a white girl that he went to school with that called him a nigger. And so what Michael Jordan did is he took a can and he bust her head with the can, right? And he talked about that ordeal, and that's how he ended up saying that he didn't like white people. But when he done got inside, now he's in that culture, right? The stuff that Kwame Brown be talking about, go along, get along? Remember when that whole ordeal about racial tension was going down? Remember what Michael Jordan did? He gave $50 million to the NAACP, and then he gave $50 million to the police department. That's down the line, ain't it? Right? So to try to use Jordan, and they know that Jordan ain't for the station, he ain't going against the grain, Mike for his paper, and he with that, right? So that's all good. But the thing is, you're trying to use him to try to make Scottie Pippen to make him in credit or to invalidate his statements, right? By saying, see, Michael Jordan didn't have a problem with it. So Scottie Pippen had to give you the backdrop to let you know, no, that ain't how that went down. And then the part about him saying that, here he is as a coach around black men, and then the way he exposed Kobe, and then go over there and coach Kobe like everything was good, right? So does that mean that Phil Jackson ain't racist? Some people might say no. Some people say yeah. But you can't just go on the mirror just because a mug coach basketball and in front of people. That don't mean nothing. As the owner of the Clippers said, it was a culture of mugs who like that. Think about how them combines is for the NFL and stuff. That shit look like plantation. Niggas say how fast you run, 4.4. How much you can lift. You know what I'm saying? How much bail ahead can you know what I'm saying? Big, strong, strapping bucks, right? So, is Scottie wrong for what he's saying? Did Scottie, as he said, I have more intimate, personal situations with him that we done had conversations or back and forth and banter, that he stood on his square and said, I doubled down on it. But they're trying to say, maybe you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say that because we're not going to like that, Scottie. And so, Scottie, you're going to pay for that, right? You're going to pay because you're making this stance and saying racist. So Scottie is like, I'm standing with it. Scottie got his head all out, you know what I'm saying, got his fro all out and everything. This woke culture in the corners of social media is changing a lot of people who normally thought they either didn't have, a place, then they now found them a place, and they found them some people that they feel like, man, fuck it, if everything else fall apart, I'm going to go back down with my people. That's what it seems like a lot of them doing. So y'all tell me what y'all think about this whole situation with the Scottie Pippen, Phil Jackson situation, because, it can be what it is. Maybe it's not what it ain't, So it just depends on how you're looking at it, right? So go ahead in there, like, subscribe, share, comment, do all that other good stuff, right? I might got a bonus story for you. Did I do too much? Y'all ready to get up out of here? I got another one, because, again, like they're saying, they're trying to say, well, it ain't nothing really going on. This just all the people, everybody's imagination. Ain't nobody out here really racist like that. Y'all just making shit up, right? You know how they do it, right? So let's just say, matter of fact, I want to play this other one because I had seen on the Black News Channel, BNC, Sister Reed and this other brother. They was up there and they was talking, man, and the way they was explaining, man, I wish I was doing it the other way. I would actually play the sound bite, but I can't, so I take it for what it is. But they were saying some things of just black people sitting here and they're painting somebody who they don't know personally versus a man who they make an assumption, again, because, he been marred by his relationship with his wife, by her infidelities and, other things that people don't question and try to make Scottie Pippen to be a certain way. So it's easy to attack him than to say this so-called guru, supposed to be coach, who basically can only coach when he got the greatest players on his team. When his ass had a chance to go to New York, he didn't want to be no damn coach. He went in there and sat in the damn GM box, right? Trying to say I could put players together and to do it, but he didn't go down there and fuck with that damn record because he knew he needed to have the two best motherfuckers like he always had. But anyway, don't pay no attention to me, right? So, one last bit story here, right? I'm going to go with this one here, right? I'm going to go here. Did y'all see this? Representative McBath tells the Democratic mega donors that America was founded on racism. Let me say that again. Representative McBath tells Democrat mega donors that America was founded on racism. Now, again, they're going to say the disgruntled black people. Everything is race. Everything is race. How could somebody who don't walk in your shoes tell you something that don't exist because for some odd reason it's hard for them to want to believe. Let's put it that, want to believe. Not the fact that it is true, it's they don't want to believe it, right? It's like, anyway. Let me go here a little bit of this here. So this Georgia Rep. Lucy McBath, she used the occasion of the Juneteenth to insist that the United States was founded on racism and that racism is in every fiber of our country. While speaking at an event hosted by big dollar Democrat donors, the remark caught on video were given to the Democratic mega donor law firm Dwayne Morris, the LLP, on the anniversary of the end of slavery in America. Now look how slick they saying that. the anniversary of the end of slavery in America. Slavery ain't never ended in here. Stop it. Stop it. See this other video that I'm putting out, and I'll actually show why I say what I said. But anyway, said what we've seen since 2016 has been an awakening for America. And people who thought, well, racism doesn't really exist. Racism, the country was founded on racism. Racism is in every fiber of our country, Macbeth told the room, according to the video of the event obtained by the Post. Macbeth gave no evidence for her damning claim, except to say there has been a backlash against the presidency of Barack Obama and that certain demographic groups fear the browning of America. Macbeth flipped the Peach State's 6th district in 2018 and held off a challenge in 2020, though the seat is in Republican crosshairs for a potential pickup in the 2022 midterms. A rising star in Georgia Democratic politics, she was rumored to be on the short list to run for the U.S. Senate last year. Macbeth did not immediately respond to the Post request for comment. The comment come amid a political and cultural firestorm regarding critical race theory and how the history of the United States should be taught to the nation's school children. The battle lines in that fight are plainly drawn around the question of whether the United States is and always has been a racist nation. Critical race theory dictates that race is an underlying dynamic of all human interactions and views the human experience as a constant power struggle between the races, often with a focus on white privilege as a result of slavery. Current U.S. Educational Secretary Miguel Cardona helped imply a critical race theory curriculum for Connecticut students while operating the state school system. Republicans have argued against including it in student curriculum, with many arguing it teaches children to view each other based on race. As Republican state legislators have moved to ban critical race theory from school, progressives have insisted that CRT is being misunderstood, with some even claiming the theory isn't taught outside of law school, despite a growing movement of parents of young children across the country furiously protesting it at school board meetings. Okay? So we see this Lucy Macbeth saying that, man, the country is founded on it. What's the argument here? If you know that the history has said that black Americans were enslaved to do the work, to build the wealth of the nation, and still to this day are fighting for what they call equal to what the Marquis say, how can anybody say that it wasn't founded on it if these people still feel like they haven't got an equal share? Why do other people who that ain't their history got a problem with what you talking about, what happened to you? Obviously, you want to deflect on the simple fact because you feel like if you get something, you're going to gain, and that's going to mean that you're going to be above me. That's what this really shit is all about. Certain people don't want you to ever be equal or above them. They like the persona. They like the mindset of thinking that you're below them. That makes that even though they're in the pyramid of being of white supremacy or white structure, that even if they're at the bottom of that, I'm still above you. So I'm better than you. You know what I'm saying? This shit is all about psychology. So anyway, you might agree, may disagree with that. But is she telling the truth? Is it founded on it? Or is that just a figure of everybody's imagination? Does CRT make people look at people racially? But as I said, prior to CRT, when there was no CRT, what was we dealing with? It was racism, right? Nobody cared about whether whites only, white section only, white flight, right? When it was all that, CRT, where was y'all side? We shouldn't do this. It's about race. All of a sudden now, instead of telling it the slant version of history, we're going to tell it the way it TI is, all inclusive, with all the trimmings with it. Oh, no, because you said that's going to make people hate. Well, what was it doing prior before? So again, what she said, what this article talked about, what y'all think? Is it founded on racism? Some people going to say yes. Some people going to say no. Can one side prove what the other side say? Can it prove? or can it disprove? Well, y'all be the one. So again, this is your host, the most hated show on the black corner of YouTube, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and thank you for listening. Again, comment, subscribe, share, hit that notification all. Even if you already subscribed, go back and look and make sure you do it. Help this channel get back in because we almost on the anniversary, y'all. And again, when the time comes, it's going to be so obvious. This is a guaranteed W. So anyway, to the next show, y'all, and to the next show.